this weekend when you get your marks back, and some comments. I guess what you might take from that is that when I go to all the trouble to make comments on assignment 1 and an example answer, you look at that and you go, well, how can I improve for assignment 2? I know there was about a week to do it, but things like title blocks on the right layer, where people have repeated scales just to the one scale. Very simple things, but of course I'm opening up drawings in assignment 2 and finding the same things where students have just gone save as or copy and not even read the comments, so they will get an unpleasant surprise when they come around for their own marking side of it. Otherwise, the marks are kind of following suit for most people, similar sort of track to what they did for assignment 1. If anything, they're down a little bit on assignment 1. Now, because that was meta drawings, in some ways it doesn't have a lot of bearing on the next assignment because you're in millimetres, right? But I'm getting a lot of people asking and re-asking many times, what is the text heights for millimetre drawings? It's actually a very easy equation, extremely easy. For metre drawings, if you remember, say 3.5 millimetre text in layout equals 3.5 times the scale. Let's call the scale 1 to 20. So if that was in the metre drawing, it will be 3.5 times 20, which equals 70. And then you have to convert metres. So it would be equal to 0.070, I guess, if we're talking about the text height of metres for 1 to 20. If we're talking about millimetres, it would be 3.5 times 20 equals 70, and that's it, 70. Very easy millimetre rooms. So, yeah, I guess over the years I've found millimetre drawings a lot easier to calculate the text heights. You'll find guys and girls that end up in structural drawing offices, design offices, engineering offices. You give them a metre drawing to do and they haven't done it for 2 or 3 years and they're like, whoa, I don't really like this is horrible work. If you're in a big consultancy like say Becker's or Jacobs or something, that's what happens. Your little area runs out of work, so they go, well, we need to give you something for the next month, so go and help out with the civil engineers. And you're like, oh, and they go in screaming and shouting like a dog that doesn't want to be washed, you know, and they have to do that calculation all the time, plus the viewport thing, they've forgotten how to do that, Z equals blah, blah, blah. The viewport is also easier in millimetres, you just right click on it and choose a scale, simple as that. You've probably forgotten that from way back when you had Ingrid or me for the first, about week 4 of last semester. You just right click on the viewport. Oh, you've got to hit the right customs. Those that were in my class, the silly story about the customs officer jumping on top. It's the top custom one, not the bottom one. But as long as you hit the right customs, just choose a scale. There was also another question from quite an intelligent student. Can you do the zoom thing for millimetres? You can actually do it. with meter drawings with zoom, enter 1000 divided by the scale XP, right? So that was the thing you did for the meter drawing. You can actually go Z enter, instead of 1000, it's just 1 divided by the scale XP. And that actually works too for millimetre drawings if you're getting a little bit stuck or you can't find a scale. It works as well. Wasn't really what I set out to talk about today, but there we are, and that'll help you if you're struggling with your millimetres and your metres and that side of things. Okay. With respect to the assignment, I've just talked about things like the title block. There's a lot of other things that I talked about too for assignment 2. For example, I said you don't just copy the existing site plan and put a different title down the bottom and go proposed site plan. That's just way too easy, considering all the hard work you've had to do so far with me. You have to think about it in many ways. First of all, the shed's being removed. So it's no longer a structure on site, so it no longer is hatched. The outline is dashed, which means it's to be removed. Preferably a different dash than other dashes, but you can use the same one. I'll let you away with that. I went to all the trouble to do an example here of the design contours on the board. There's also other examples in class exercises, and I showed the line of equal cut and fill. That follows the contour line around, and it's the only line that should be left underneath your butterfly wings and your platform. Anything else there, and that wasn't asked for. And then the hardest part, the notes. Most students, unfortunately, just copied the notes from the existing site plan and went, I've got absolutely no idea what to do, so I'll just repeat the same notes. The drawings are a progression. So as you progress, you're learning more about the site. So we started off with an existing site plan. Then we did a long section and we found out that there were a few issues at the outlet end, that we needed to kind of adjust the wall back a bit and how high the wall was going to be and things like that, and hello, there's a tree there. Then in assignment 2, we did the design contours and the butterfly wings, which showed you how far the earthworks are going, and yes, you do need to do something about that tree. So that particular note was very important, had to be reflected in your notes. It had to change from existing site plan to there needs to be something done, or we will be doing this. And also another option was to put a retaining wall there as well to stop the dirt from going under the drip line of the tree. Also, we now know more about the height by the wetlands for the wall. So that is a determined height, so you can now put an extra note in there to say this is the height an engineer needs to design it. So it's gone from maybe we have a problem, maybe we have another one over here, we might have one here, to we have a problem there, we have a problem there, and let's talk about it in the notes. It wasn't worth a lot of marks, a couple of 3 marks on the whole assignment for doing that, but I was just a little bit disappointing that. And the degree's the same, hardly anyone did that. They just pretty much went copy from their original one. I also said no survey data and on the proposed plan and no locality plan. You know, I said that. You go back over the lectures, you'll see I said that. I also said it to a lot of people in labs and by email. Some people asked me that as well. So when I do say those things, it's important because it does reflect back on your assignments, unfortunately. So if you're kind of having a bit of a cruise here in your lectures or labs, nodding off a bit, it's all very well taking videos, but you do have to go back and have a look at them. I know some lecturers don't like them being videoed. I don't mind it, because I know you guys can flick back and have a look. We've got a student here that's doing them specially for me, which is really good. I'm uploading those, so if you haven't got a camera, generally speaking, they'll be uploaded, but it will only be his lab. If you're not in his lab, it might be something that's said in your own one that you should, take note of. Look, when I was your age, I used to sit there nodding off in lectures too, and we didn't have videos or anything like that. We just had a guy that used to roll a thing over and it went onto a projector behind him, and it had all his notes on it. He's just doing this, blah, 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 blah. And you had to keep up writing, and after a while you got a bit sore or bored and you just fell asleep. So, I understand, but unfortunately we've only got 13 weeks of lectures, and pretty much everything in those lectures should help you get reasonable marks. Having said that, overall, the ones of you guys that are turning up every week, competing, turning in your assignments and that, some pretty good marks there. I'm really pleased. So keep it up. Don't take the pressure off the accelerator. I know you've got other things going on. Assignment 3, you're going to need to do your reinforcing schedule, and that's got to be reflected onto the reinforcing plan. It looks complicated, but there are some degree students here all sat together. They had a sketch, and they said to me, "This is what we think we should draw," and I said, "That looks pretty good to me. Go for it," because they just put off till last Tuesday to start drawing. But the 4 of them nutted it out what it would look like in plan view. So yeah, that's not a bad idea. You've got a nice warm library there to meet up at some stage over the lecture break, or even in the lab. The UDT is open over the holidays if you want to do that. I'm not sure about Saturday, Sunday, pretty sure it is, but definitely through the week it's all open. Now, today's lecture is fairly short. It's on timber, and for some of you that are repeating materials, you probably already have done timber already, and I'm not sure where you're up to with materials of timber, but some of the notes will be the same. Most of the notes will be the sort of thing I want on my drawings. Okay. So how does that work? We have timber notes today, and when you call up your timber in your assignment, you don't just say 100 by 75 timber, right? If you go to a timber place to pick up some timber with your dad, or if you're an older student to build something around your house, you don't just walk into the yard and go, "Oh, g'day mate, how you doing? Can I have some 75 by 25 timbers, please?" The first thing he'll say is, "What sort?" And he'll say, "Radiator, pine, Remu, blah, 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 blah." And you go, "Whoa, hold on, I didn't know timber was that complicated." It isn't really. Most timber in New Zealand for construction is radiator pine. I would suggest this job would be radiator pine. But you don't want to put radiator pine on all your notes here, there, everywhere. Your whole drawing will get splattered with notes. So maybe that could go in the little note section on the side rather than on your labels. The next thing they're going to say is, "Oh, what H rating, mate?" And you'll go, "Sorry, what do you mean by H rating?" Well, the H rating is the treatment rating of the timber. And there's quite a few numbers, and I'll go over that. But it isn't as hard as you think. If it's H1 point something, it means you could probably leave it outside for a few days, maybe a week or two. After that, you're risking the timber starting to rot a bit. Okay? I've had people say to me, "Look, we've had H1 timber out there and I painted it on the first day, put another coat on it 6 months later, put another coat on it another 6 months later of paint. It's still there, look, it hasn't rotted." Okay, well that's possible if you do that, because painting is a way of kind of treating the timber as well. But generally speaking, we don't put H1 point something anywhere where it's going to be exposed to weather. H3 point something is generally exposed to weather. So if you think about weather, rain, wind, cold, that sort of thing. H3 point something is generally going to be used for that. This is a, what is it, a tractor shed and a storage sort of facility. The doors are probably going to be open quite a bit. It's going to be exposed to the rain and the cold a little bit. I'd suggest we're going to be using H3 point something timber. When you get to H4 and H5, we're talking about timber that's in the ground, and H5 is more like timber that's actually in water. And so that's a much higher rating